Hello, Lisa here. Welcome to Walking the Self-Worth Path, a series where I share with you my favorite tarot and witchy tools, techniques, and rituals to support your journey to an empowered life. When we talk about self-care, what we're really talking about is how we can self-prioritize. Really, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about putting our needs first. It's about making sure that we feel like our battery is full. It's about making sure that we're really paying attention to what we need, maybe even what we want, and we're making space for that in our lives. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my favorite decks and books for the topic of self-care. And this is a fun one because I feel like there are so many tools we can lean into to help us prioritize ourselves. So it was actually really hard to narrow this category down. I'm going to be flipping the camera around in a second and sharing with you guys what I've picked. But just keep in mind that whatever you reach for, it doesn't have to be something that's specifically around the theme of self-care. It just needs to be something that's going to help you focus on you. So that could be any tarot or oracle deck. That could be any book. That could be a really cozy, good fiction book. It doesn't have to be something that's going to teach you about self-care. But that is definitely where my focus is going to be today. I think there's a lot of really great resources out there and a lot of great decks and tools that can help us tap into really focusing and prioritizing ourselves. So with that said, let's flip the camera around and take a look at about 4 to 5, I guess, of my favorite self-care decks and books. All right, so let's start off with some of my favorite decks and then we'll move to books. So I had a really hard time, as I mentioned, narrowing this down. I've picked a couple things that are specifically themed around this topic and then a couple things that kind of go their own way. So let's dive in. One of my in fact, I think this was the first of all of these decks that I brought into my collection. And this was a deck that I didn't see anybody really talking about. The Self-Love Oracle deck by Janet Cui. Now this is a independent deck, even though it very much looks like a mass market deck. I purchased this right from Janet Cui's website. I will have links to the decks that I'm talking about in the description box down below, so don't worry. But this deck is really lovely. Its entire focus is on, oh my gosh, look at that. I did not plan that, I swear. But the card at the very top, self-care. It says, even while serving others, we should not neglect our own needs. You can only give to others what you have. Replenish your cup. Attend to yourself. That could not have been more perfect, I swear. I did not plan that. The little guidebook with this deck is really quite lovely, and it has longer messages for every card. But what I love is that, and let's just zoom us in a bit. Oh, sorry. Bash the microphone. What I love about this is that all of the cards' themes, share your light, evolve, they're all based around self-love and self-care. So they really make it easy to focus on what matters. Remember your purpose, gratitude. The soft artwork style, the messages, they all kind of come together to just create a really easy to use self-care tool. So if I just need to pull a card to see where I'm at on my self-worth path, to see how I'm doing with my self-care, I feel like this is a great deck. Where it calls me out, it does it very gently and lovingly. It doesn't feel like it's like lecturing me, if that makes any sense. And it's just a very approachable, soft, and gentle deck. Oh, I love this card. Conquer fear, and there's this big like ice dragon. Most fear is based on illusion, lies that we tell ourselves to avoid change. Release your need for complete control or perfection. Just do your best. Really beautiful. And look at this play card. Wonderful for just pulling to journal about. Wonderful for pulling to just kind of give yourself a moment to breathe and to pause or to meditate. I love this Get Up card. It gives me so many feelings. So yeah, really gorgeous. If you haven't seen this one before, it's definitely worth a look. Yes, some of the cards go landscape and some stay on portrait, but I really love this one and I couldn't see ever parting with it. Again, I've had it for a long time. Plus, hello, beautiful silver gilding on the side. So really a gorgeous deck. I love the backings as well. So that is the Self-Love Oracle by Janet Cui. Next up, this one is about as on point as you can get as far as I'm concerned. It is the Sacred Self-Care Oracle by Jill Pyle. This originally came out as an independent deck, but it is now I believe it's mass market. I know I got it on Amazon, I think. It might still be independent. It just might be available on Amazon. But this is a really nice little deck. This is the CEO and co-founder of Goddess Provisions, Jill Pyle is. And this deck actually originally featured, oh no, it is Hay House. There we go. This deck actually originally featured in the independent version on her, in her box, in her Goddess Provisions box. Love this. Take care of yourself so you can shine your soul's light. Wonderful messages in the guidebook, by the way. This one does tend to be, I think, fairly female-centric, so that's something to be aware of. There is another deck called the Fox Self-Care Tarot, or the Fox Tarot Self-Care Oracle or something. It's I think that one's a lot more gender neutral, even leaning a little bit masculine in its energy. This one does have a very feminine vibe, so if that bugs you, this may not be the one for you. But I really love it. I love the backings, the purple with the little pink hearts, or pink flowers rather. And this one, I love the art style, and I like that it gives you kind of more activities to focus on, right? Love that. So it's almost like if you want a little bit of self-care homework, this is really great for that. And I just really love this. Are you sleeping? Dance. Nourish your temple. Ground yourself. This art style speaks it just speaks right to me. And I feel like it's really good if you just want to pull something to focus on for the day. Just something simple to keep in mind. Whatever that might be. Sometimes it's a very specific activity. Like here you have make an altar, or soak in a bath, or journal. But sometimes it's more general. Like here you have flow like water. So just be flexible and flow that day. Here you have connect with the earth. Here we have a beauty ritual. But then here we have connect with fire as an element. So maybe tapping into your courage, or maybe actually doing a burning ritual, right? So there's all kinds of things that this can spark as far as activities to focus on. I love that. And I love here, by the way, I love in massage that what we see is somebody giving themselves a massage, right? Massaging their own feet, their own hands, their back, their neck. And it's even showing some spots you could focus on, right? And giving yourself your own foot massage is a really lovely thing to do. I love that in spending time with friends, we see people throwing cards and like drinking tea. That is the best. But I just really, really enjoy this deck. And it has just a lot of different things you can focus on. And there's a lot of cards in here. In fact, does it say? I don't see the number of cards on the box. Oh, no, it says it on the cover. 55 cards. 55 cards. So that's really lovely. I love this deck. Really cute. And affordable as well. So if you're just looking for something to help prompt a self-care practice, this is such a great one. And I would not be without this in my self-care kit. All right, so let's take a look next at some decks that aren't specifically about self-care. This first one is the Happy Tarot. Now this specific deck was gifted to me some time ago. And so my copy was originally from the bordered version of the cards. And so mine is trimmed, and it just makes it this cute, small size. I just love it. But now this deck comes where the 3 sides are borderless, and you only have a border on the bottom, so you probably don't need to trim it if you get it now. But this deck has such a sweet Candyland vibe, and there's something about this art style where things look shiny and full of light, and there's something about that just helps me to tap into that lighter energy, that lighter feeling, that sense of joy and happiness. I can't get over how goofy happy this cloud is. It's great to me. And even the cards that deal with the difficult stuff do it in a way where you can feel or see rather the emotions in that card. Let's see if I can find an example. And to me, that's really helpful when you're trying to tap into emotion, to actually see it so visibly represented. Let's see. Like you can see how pensive she is. Come on, focus camera. Hello? Hello? Why isn't it focusing? It's weird. It's usually much better at that. But anyway, oh yeah, here. See how sad he is? Oh, so sad. So yeah, I really like that. It's helpful if I'm having trouble identifying my emotions sometimes to see the facial expressions in this deck. It just really helps to tap into that energy. So that is the Happy Tarot. And if you need a boost, if you're just struggling and you actually need a positive spin on your tarot reading, the guidebook actually has, for every card, there is a little message. Where is it here? In the English side. You can find happiness by. So in the 9 of Cups, you can find happiness by visualizing your bliss. In the 10 of Cups, you can find happiness through family love. But then even in the difficult cards, let me look at the Tower, because that's a tough card, right? So for the Tower, it says, you can find happiness in releasing what no longer serves you. So even in the tough cards, there's like a little shining light, and this one's just really lovely for that. So that is the Happy Tarot. Again, I will have links to everything down below so you can check them out. So these next two decks, this next one specifically was one that snuck up on me, and I absolutely love it. This deck still, after, I don't know, like a year or more, lives by my bed. And a lot of times before sleep, I will pull a card from this deck. This is the Guardian Angel Tarot by Radley Valentine. This used to have Doreen Virtue's name on it. Same deck as far as I know, there's no changes. My copy is trimmed and edged in soft pastel pinks. Just trimmed enough to take the gilding off. I got that idea from Dawn Michelle over at Boho Tarot. She did a really lovely mod on this deck, and I basically copied it, and it's still to date one of my favorite modifications ever. What I love about this deck is it just has this very cozy, cottagey, comforting kind of feel. The messages are all very soothing and very comforting, and they just make you feel like you're having, but it's very much a hug deck. It's very, very much a hug deck, and it just makes you feel comforted. So when I need a little bit of that nurturing or that comforting from my cards, this is a really great one for me to reach for. And I just saw everything from the art style, the artwork, the way the cards are laid out, and the fact that the messages are right on the cards so I can just read what's here. If I feel like I want more, I will reach for the guidebook, but most of the time, I just pull a card or two from this, I read the message, I consider it, and I toddle off to sleep. And it just feels really nice. It's not something where I feel like I need to put in a lot of mental acrobatics to get the messages I need from the cards, and it just makes it a very soothing deck to work with. So that again is the Guardian Angel Tarot. So the backings look like. And finally, this video would not be complete. I totally just bought my camera. This video would not be complete without mentioning my Mom's Tarot. Now this is my first edition. It is in a really lovely handmade box by Dustin over at Modern Metaphysique. If you haven't seen his boxes, check them out. But he made this one special for me with this gorgeous unicorn paper. Oh, I just love it. And this is actually an Atlantisite crystal that is, for me, specifically about sort of owning my own differences, celebrating my differences, recognizing all of that. And this deck, my first edition Mom's Tarot. You guys know this has a very special place in my heart. The first edition, oh, I wish my camera was focusing properly. Oh well. This first edition has white backings. The second edition, the more recent printing, has a really gorgeous sort of turquoisey blue backing. But this deck has been through so many shuffles and so much love, and so this one is the one I save only for me. My second edition I will use in readings for the channel, or I will read for other people with, but this deck is just for me and my practice alone. It's just special for that, and I love it for that. So this is just a really wonderful deck. I feel like this is my personality in a way in a deck. It's kind of quirky, it's kind of different, it's kind of cuddly, it's kind of sensitive, and I just feel like it meets me exactly where I am. It delivers me the messages that I need or want when I need or want them. And I love it for that. It just feels like it speaks my speak, and I don't know how else to describe it. The second edition is beautiful, but it just doesn't have that same cozy, all for me kind of feel, which is why that's the deck that I feel like I can use for others. But this one is all mine. And the cards have like a softness to them. I don't know if that's just because they're so well broken in, but everything about this deck feels like a big hug from spirit, and I just love reaching for this when I need to do a little reading for myself, when I want to know what's coming up, and I just want clear messages, and I want it to just speak in a language I can easily understand. I don't know if that makes sense, but sometimes there's just like a homey kind of deck, and that's what this feels like. It feels like cuddling under a blanket with a hot cup of tea. It's just very, very, very soothing. So that is the Mom's Tarot first edition. But again, there is a second edition, and the cards are completely identical, except there's a different bonus card and different backings. So that is the Mom's Tarot. All right, so I'm going to zoom. Oh, I need to put my crystal back in the box. What am I doing? Okay, there we go. All right, I'm going to zoom us back out. Let's take a look at some books. So I have a few to share that I think you guys are going to really enjoy if you haven't already encountered them. So the first, The Witch's Book of Self-Care. First of all, this is an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous book. Look at that metallic. It's so pretty. And this deck, does it have a bookmark in it? No, I thought it did, but it doesn't. Look at this hot pink end pages. Oh my goodness. In Pages and Papers, I never know what they're called. So this book, Magical Ways to Pamper, Soothe, and Care for Your Body and Spirit. Now this is by Arin Murphy-Hiscock, who is the author of The Green Witch, and this is published by Simon & Schuster. So what I love about this book, it covers a lot of ground. Now I have read the entire thing cover to cover. It's full of a lot of different sections that, well, I shouldn't say a lot of, it's full of several sections, so you can kind of tune into the section you most need at any time. So in the contents, we have an introduction. Chapter 1 is self-care and magic. Chapter 2 is about mental and emotional self-care. Chapter 3 is about physical self-care. Chapter 4 is about spiritual self-care. And Chapter 5 is about household self-care. So as an example, when we're into self-care and magic, we have activities like a self-care journal dedication and a journaling framework ritual. And it talks about keeping a self-care journal as just one example. Also some information here about magic, like centering and grounding, casting circles. When we get into mental and emotional self-care, there's information here about organization and planning, about receiving love. This is how we're talking about dealing with our emotions, clearing out energetic debris. There's a lot of really great stuff. A lot of very specific instructions on little rituals and activities you can do to tap into this part of self-care. A spell to embrace depression. How beautifully worded is that? It's not a spell to erase depression, right? It's a spell to embrace depression, to get to know yourself a little better. It says embracing doesn't mean permanent acceptance. It means understanding that depression is a sign that you need to attend to yourself, to be extra gentle, to care for yourself. It is an essential step on the way to dealing with it and hopefully moving past it. If you know you're depressed or have been diagnosed with a depression, use this this spell to accept the diagnosis and remind yourself that you are worthy of love. Like, how beautiful is that? And then we get into, after mental and emotional, we have physical self-care. So recipes that are comforting, right? Information here about working with different herbs, bath and shower care, bath bombs, that kind of fun thing. When we get into spiritual self-care, then we're starting to look at things like working with deity, working with animals, spiritual vision boards, daily rituals, lots of great stuff in here. And then when we get into household self-care, it's things around cleaning and keeping your home, like managing your home's energy, cleansing and purifying, that kind of stuff. So it's just a really great all-arounder for getting more ideas on how to incorporate more self-care into your lifestyle. I love this book. I definitely recommend this book. It's been really wonderful to work with. And then, of course, we couldn't have a talk about self-care books without talking about the Tarot for Self-Care book by Minerva Siegel. This is How to Use Tarot to Manifest Your Best Self. I love this book. It's, again, a really nice hardbound book. Again, Simon & Schuster. Wow, I didn't even realize that until just now. So that's pretty cool. What I love about this book is you can use this as a guidebook to work with any tarot deck. That is what makes this so cool to me. I'm making my candle really flicker. So for any single card in the tarot deck, so here we have the Chariot. You will have information on the Chariot card, a general interpretation for the Chariot card, a reversed interpretation for the Chariot card, but these interpretations are actually based around the concepts of self-care and self-love. So they definitely come at things from that perspective, so that's great. So if you wanted to use any tarot deck and come at that reading with a self-care slant, this deck will do that for you. But not only that, it also has this section called self-care card activities. So if you're like, I just want to think of a self-care activity to do, you can shuffle at any tarot deck and you can pull out your Chariot card. Let's say you randomly draw that. And if you want to do a self-care activity for mind, it says focus on confidence boosting self-care. Dress in a favorite outfit that makes you feel powerful. You could do a body self-care activity. Try strength training to get the rush of energy you need to see your projects through to the end. Or you could focus on a spiritual self-care activity. The Chariot indicates that a battle is nearly over. Pause and consider how far you've come. You're doing so well. Be proud of yourself. So it lets you work with any deck, any tarot deck, and get self-care activity ideas as well as self-care kind of themed interpretations. These interpretations will work for a regular tarot reading, but they just have that slight confidence boosting self-care kind of slant to it, and I really, really love this book for that. I have used this book at least one time in my Tarot by the Book series, which exists now over on my second channel, which I will link in the description box down below. It's my tarot readings channel. So I have used it. If you want to see it in action and kind of see how it reads, you can check that out. But that is Tarot for Self-Care. I also wanted to share this delightful little gem. So this is 365 Gentle Reminders, Daily Positive Informations by Natalie Dormady. This is actually produced by Liminal 11, the creators of the Modern Witch Tarot, or the publishers of the Modern Witch Tarot, the Cosmic Slumber Tarot, the White Newman Tarot, and other decks. But they also have books, and when I saw this one, I was like, oh, I would love to share that with my audience, and so they did send this to me, which is wonderful. Thank you so much, Liminal 11, and I have been loving it. So it's really sweet. I don't know if you remember, look at these end papers. I don't know if you remember daily devotionals. I say remember like everybody has a Christian background. But when I was younger and I had a Christian background, it was common to find daily devotional books. And these would be dated books where you could turn to whatever day it was. So here's January 11th, and you would get a little message from, say, the Bible or scripture or something like that. But this is kind of like that, except it's just about self-care. I don't know why I'm using a biblical comparison, but that's what it makes me think of. I don't know how else to describe it. So for whatever calendar day of the year it is, you just turn to that calendar day. Oh, that spine sound though. And you find the day. So February 28th, feeling and healing. March 1st, I can and I will. Now I marked one because I really like this one. So let's go to that one. I'll share it with you. For October 23rd, the unicorn says, "We believe in you." Isn't that sweet? Like we always talk about believing in unicorns, but the unicorn believes in me. That's awesome. You deserve to heal. These are very gentle, loving, empowering messages. And so what I do is I just keep this next to my bed or on my reading table, and I just check whatever the message is every single day. It takes about 3 seconds, and it just is such a nice little moment of joy in my day. I absolutely love it. The illustrations are absolutely adorable, and the messages are really nice. You are enough. These waves will pass. It's okay to ask for help. You are not alone. So this is just a charming, special little book. So it says on the back, 365 Gentle Reminders is a beautiful book of illustrated recovery affirmations that are filled with warmth and positivity. With a message and drawing for every day of the year to remind you that you are enough, you are not alone, and your life matters. These simple yet powerful affirmations will wrap you in a positive embrace and help you find the strength you need to get through the day, whether you're on a recovery journey or simply seeking a more positive outlook on life. From the creator of the popular Gentle Reminders Instagram account @LittleEarthlings. So I had no idea that this had a recovery slant, and I think these messages are great for everybody, but it's just a wonderful thing to have in a self-care toolkit. So when you're having a rough day, you can just quickly go to this book and remember, these clouds will pass. You will get through this, right? Like it's just, it's okay to not be okay. Your anxiety is not your fault. I mean, come on. It's just fantastic. So really, really beautiful. And again, I think this was really affordable. Is there a list price actually right on here? I remember looking at it and thinking it wasn't that bad. I will have a link to it down below, but this is something that I will definitely keep close to me in my self-care toolkit. And of course, we should talk about The Self-Worth Path, the namesake for this entire series. This is my book, The Self-Worth Path, A Guided Journey to an Empowered Life. And the reason we're talking about self-care is because self-care is the second of 5 major areas of self-worth that I cover in my book. So to give you an idea, in the self-care section, I talk about, practicing self-care without feeling selfish, putting yourself first, building your survival mode self-care toolkit, and practicing aloneness. So in self-care, there's a lot of prompts and stories that I share here about my own experiences trying to find my own path to prioritizing myself, to practicing self-care. And I just find that there are some good exercises in here that I shared because they help me. We have some put it into practice exercise. We have some journal prompts. Journal prompts here, like this points to ponder or journal about, also make great tarot readings, tarot reading prompts. So you can use it that way too. But I really am passionate about this section of the book. It's why it's the second section, right? We start with body acceptance, we move into self-care, because these are the foundations of self-worth. The more that we can actually learn to prioritize ourselves and trust that we are actually worthy of our time, of our attention, the more that we actually begin to advocate for ourselves in our lives and step into our personal power. So I talk about releasing guilt and shame over goals that we don't meet. I talk about being alone, like practicing being comfortable on your own, like what that feels like, and my own experiences trying to figure out how to do that. So we talk about, I keep saying we, It's like a verbal tick. I don't know what to say about it, but yeah. So that is the section on self-care and the self-worth path. I will always have a link to this in my description box so that you can find it really easy. Oh no, I guess I'd only bookmarked self-care, so it's fine. But in any case, love having this as part of my own toolkit. These are the tools and techniques I've been working with for a very, very long time. So this is definitely my own comfort zone when it comes to practicing self-care and self-worth. So definitely check that out. All right, you guys. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. As always, I'm really enjoying sharing these tools, these techniques, these practices, these different aspects of my own journey with you guys. Happy to hear down below what resonates for you, if any of these things are things that you enjoy reaching for, or if you have your own decks or books you'd like to recommend to other people who find the comments and are looking for more suggestions, please leave them down below. Otherwise, I would have had to make a video that was hours and hours long talking about all of this. So definitely share your tips, suggestions, resources, books, and decks that you think would be great for this practice. Thank you so much for joining me. Please be sure and like this video, subscribe if you're new here, and click the bell to be notified of all my future content. As always, if you would like to book a one-on-one reading with me, you can do that over at supportivetarot.com. Thank you so much, and may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye, guys.